You might be surprised if I told you that about 40% of your success on the TOEFL depends not on your English level, but on how well informed you are about the small details of the exam and the test day procedure. This is the second episode of the Student Experience series that I've started on this channel. If you haven't watched the first episode, feel free to check it out first. The reason I'm sharing this information is that, from what I see, many people struggle with the TOEFL test. Not because their level is not up to par, but because they're missing small details about the test. They can either make or break their TOEFL score. Just a few days ago, I had a lesson with a student who didn't know how to write introductory sentences in an email quickly. It's not that she didn't have enough vocabulary or grammar. She simply didn't know what to include. So she was wasting time trying to figure out what to write. This is a common problem, by the way, and we'll discuss it in today's video. For more information about emails, you can check out this video on the channel. In today's video, I want to read some of the comments you left under my videos and tell you about my students' experiences so that you're fully prepared to succeed on the TOEFL test. If you've taken the test recently or are still preparing, feel free to share your experience in the comments below. And of course, if you're planning to take the TOEFL in the near future, I strongly recommend watching until the end, because one of these experiences could prevent you from making the same mistake on test day. Let's get started. Last time we began with a detailed story from one of the viewers of this channel. Today, we'll look at a few more comments this person wrote. The first comment is about the listening section. The student writes that they took the test 3 days ago. According to them, the listening section was a little harder than the mock tests they've practiced with. This is why I always suggest practicing with several platforms and using more challenging prep materials as well. The student also says that the test included some vague answer choices. For example, there were 2 options that were almost the same, with very little difference between them. The hardest part was the academic lectures, which were longer and more difficult than the ones in the practice tests. So you should be ready for lectures that are around 4 to 5 minutes long. What this means is that you should be prepared for longer and more difficult listening tasks, especially academic lectures. If you watched the first episode, you already know that I mentioned a tendency for the test to become a bit more challenging over time. And more difficult questions in the listening section are another sign of that. Again, when you do practice tests, many lectures are only about 1 to 2 minutes long. But if the lecture is 4 to 5 minutes long, it's much more demanding. So your concentration needs to be much stronger. One thing you can do is practice with old format tasks as well. For example, on the Daily Dictation website, there's still examples of older lectures. You can listen to them and take notes to improve your concentration. You can also use the dictation mode to make your listening skills better. The second comment is about the reading section. The student writes that the Read in Daily Life passage was so hard that he or she couldn't answer any of the questions. For us, this again means that you should be ready for different types of tasks and different levels of difficulty. If you're just beginning your preparation, I suggest starting with simple ETS practice tasks or using a prep platform, for example, LinguaTOEFL, to get familiar with the format of Read in Daily Life tasks. If you find this task easy and don't make any mistakes, then you need to level up and use more challenging materials for practice. I have a special playlist on this channel where I go through more difficult daily life tasks. I generated all the questions and texts there myself, and they were created specifically to help you practice with more challenging materials. So you can watch these videos. If you find them easy, then it means your level is good enough to tackle even more difficult version of this task. If not, you can work on improving your reading skills and expanding your vocabulary. You can start by watching this video with the most essential words for the TOEFL reading section. I will also release more videos about the Complete the Words task, so you can subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss them. Okay, the third comment is about the speaking section. The student writes, regarding speaking, make a list of high-scoring words that you can use. Just a few are enough, such as significant, impact, prioritize, and others. These words will help you. Also make a list of phrases like in order to, what I mean is, and from my perspective. These can make your sentences sound spontaneous rather than robotic. Okay, let's stop here for a second. There is something I'd like to say about this advice. I really like the first piece of advice about making a list of certain words that you can use in many of your responses. If you watch my videos, you know this is something I recommend all the time because it's one of the best ways to improve your speaking score, especially in the take an interview task. In the listen and repeat task, it can also help because you may recognize and understand more words. But this strategy is especially useful for the take an interview task, where you need to answer 4 questions in 45 seconds. So which words do I suggest including? I suggest including words that you can use often and words that help you replace the basic words you keep repeating. For example, we all say the word good. We say the movie was good, the trip was good, I like good food, I like having a good time with my family. So why not use the word quality instead? You can say, I like to spend quality time with my friends and family, or I enjoy quality food in restaurants. You can also say, I enjoy restaurants with a pleasant atmosphere, or the event was well organized. Another useful expression is up to par. Whenever you want to say that something is good enough or at a good level, you can say that it's up to par. This is a more advanced expression that can help you sound more confident. For example, you can say, I like the food, but the service wasn't up to par. Or the food was excellent, but the atmosphere wasn't quite up to par. However, an important thing to realize there is that you also need to be able to use these words correctly. That is why, when I practice with students, I don't just give them a list of words. I also make sure they know how to use those words correctly. That is exactly what you need to practice as well. So, what you need to do is make a list of these words, and then you start answering questions again and again. You use these words in your responses, and you make sure they sound natural. Because if you simply use a lot of high-scoring words, but use them unnaturally, this will not increase your score. Now, regarding the second tip, about making a list of phrases like in order to, what I mean is, and from my perspective, this is another very helpful piece of advice. But I would be very careful about the kinds of phrases you use. Very often I see students writing down phrases like, from my perspective. And while there is nothing wrong with this particular phrase, students often use it in an unnatural way. What I mean is a great phrase. In order to can sound a little too formal for the speaking section. So you have to be careful about which words and phrases you choose, especially when it comes to connectors. Yes, your speech has to sound spontaneous rather than robotic. But very often, I think what makes your speech sound fluent and spontaneous is not a list of memorized phrases. Instead, it's the feeling that you are talking to a friend rather than answering a test question. And this is something I highly recommend everyone do. Whenever you are answering questions, don't rush. Don't speak without pauses. Imagine that you are simply being asked this question and that you genuinely want to share your experience. Forget about vocabulary for a moment. You need to drill the vocabulary beforehand. But when you answer questions, you want to focus on answering them as if you're really trying to solve someone's problem. Share your experience or give a clear example. What I suggest students do is this. Every single day, take about 10 to 15 questions and record your responses to them. Give yourself 45 seconds for each response. Don't worry too much about what you say. Treat whatever you say as a good idea. Your job in this exercise is just to speak and feel relaxed. And trust me, By the time you've given the 10th response, you will already be so tired of this exercise that you will stop thinking about how you sound and what kinds of reasons you give. And if you record all of these responses, you'll probably notice that the last response is often the best one. Okay, so what the student writes here is, in speaking, you might sometimes stumble or freeze. Don't panic. Just use phrases like I mean and let me rephrase that to sound natural. Again, I mean is a great phrase, but I feel that if you overuse it, it can become a filler word, and it might actually negatively affect your performance. So I wouldn't specifically write down these kinds of words. I would try to focus on having more advanced alternatives for simple words and drilling them until they become part of your active vocabulary. And then, if you already have these words, you'll automatically use them. And if you have the attitude of speaking to a friend, you'll sound much more natural. The student then writes, don't overcomplicate it. It's easier than you think. And one thing to mention is that TOEFL is generous in the speaking section, so if you practice, you can definitely score 5 or higher in speaking. Well, that's another point I agree with. You definitely don't want to overcomplicate your ideas. Very often, I see the students struggle not because they don't know how to say something, but because they're trying to choose extremely smart ideas. And this is especially common among people who are very serious in their day-to-day lives. They want to give an opinion that really contributes to the discussion and sounds clever and impressive. And again, there is nothing wrong with this, but what you need to do in the speaking section is show your speaking skills, not your intellectual ability or reasoning skills. So it's always better to choose a simpler topic and avoid anything too philosophical or anything that would be difficult for you to talk about. I think it's usually more useful to use your personal experience and talk about things that genuinely interest you. Speak about things that are easy for you to discuss and things that you often talk about in real life. This way, you will have a much better chance of getting a high score in the speaking section. I wouldn't say that scoring 5 or higher in the speaking section is extremely easy, but I do agree that with good practice, you can even achieve a band score of 6 out of 6. Speaking of this, the 4th comment is actually a message I received on Telegram from one of my students. She was sharing her test day experience and the questions she got in the speaking section. Thank you so much, Janali, for sharing your questions, because this will give other test takers an idea of what they might expect in the speaking section. So all 4 questions were about social media. The first question was about how social media affects our lives. The second question was about how often you use social media. The third question was about how social media can be useful, and you had to give a reason. And the 4th question was about the way social media can negatively affect our lives. So you might actually pause the video right now and try to answer each of these questions in 45 seconds. Then share your experience in the comments below. You can even script your answer to any of the questions, and I will give feedback to the first 3 scripted answers you provided. Now, the next comment is from an email I received from one of my students. She was preparing for the TOEFL test some time ago, and she was planning to enroll in an acting school in LA, so she needed TOEFL for university admission. She writes, I'm writing to tell you my TOEFL results. I got 5 out of 6, which is 100 out of 120. It's enough to apply to a wide variety of programs. My speaking score is 5.5 out of 6. That is a great result, especially for acting and film directing. And thank you for the advice to retake the test sooner and not wait a couple of months. Now, the reason I wanted to share this comment is that I wanted to tell you the story of this student. She had to take the TOEFL test before she left the United States. However, she was leaving in a week, and she was trying to decide whether she should take it in the United States or go back to her home country and return in a couple of months and then take the test again. I suggested that she take the test while she was still in the United States. She took it and got the score she wanted. She was extremely happy because in her home country, she was already busy organizing paperwork and dealing with her apartment renovation. So she simply did not have enough time to study. The idea is that very often I see students who think that they will need to spend months to prepare for the TOEFL test, and you don't always need that. The TOEFL test doesn't always require such a long period of preparation. Obviously, if you are extremely busy and don't have a lot of free time, you might need to prepare for longer. But in my opinion, it's usually better to give yourself a couple of weeks of intense preparation. Focus all your effort on the TOEFL test. Get the score you need and forget about it once and for all. Another comment is also from a student, Janali. When she was sharing her test day experience, she added that she had 11 sentences in the Build a Sentence task, while most of which were embedded questions. If you're not comfortable with embedded questions, you definitely need to review this topic. Because from what I see at the moment, embedded questions actually make up the majority of the sentences that you need to create in the Build a Sentence task. If you want to learn more about them, you can watch this video on the channel. Now, in the Write an Email task, Janelle had to write about having an issue after moving into a new apartment. She needed to explain what the issue was and ask someone to fix it. Again, here you need to know how to write the opening sentence really quickly and how to use polite phrases to describe what you need in a natural and efficient way. And in the Write for an Academic Discussion task, she had a topic about whether children learn good values from friends and peers at school or from their family and social groups. So basically, the question was, where do you think children learn good values from? Do they learn them from friends and peers at school or from their family and the social groups they live in? Again, this topic is not particularly difficult. Just make sure you don't simply read the answer options or the posts from other students and immediately jump into your opinion. And of course, provide a personal example. Janelle also added that her reading section had a text about quantum computing and computer science, as well as other topics, and overall the texts were pretty tough. In listening, she had lectures about sociology and Roman history. If you don't consider yourself an expert on these topics, feel free to review them before the test, as you may see something similar. Finally, as always, let's wrap up this video with a few motivational messages from students who have already successfully taken the test. One student aced the test with a score of 110 out of 120. Huge congratulations, that's an excellent score. Another student scored 118 out of 120, which is an amazing result. My student Marwa scored 5 out of 6 on the test, which was higher than the score she needed. Another student of mine, Catherine, improved her writing score from 2 to 4 and her speaking score from 4 to 5.5. And one more student scored 5.5 out of 6. Huge congratulations! There are many more warm messages you leave under my videos, and I'm very grateful for them. I couldn't include all of them because I chose only the most relevant ones for this video. But I would really like to thank you all for sharing your experiences and for writing so many kind words and wishes, both to the channel and to me personally. I truly appreciate it, and I'm very happy to be part of such a supportive TOEFL community. Thank you all once again. I hope this video was helpful and gave you a better understanding of what to expect on test day. I wish you all a stellar TOEFL score, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.